Hey guys, it's Chris here. I just wanted to post this next video about 15 more movies. This is part 3. This is 15 other movies that I think are underappreciated or I never hear anybody talk about, or maybe you don't know about them at all. And we got, like I said, 15 movies. The first video was 25 different movies that I own that I love that nobody talks about, or I feel nobody talks about. The second was 50 movies, and we're doing another 50 movies today. And we're going to start with number 15 is 1981's Bustin' Loose. This stars Richard Pryor, obviously. And this is not the greatest Richard Pryor movie at all, but I never hear anybody talk about this. This is definitely a dated movie. It is a comedy, just like 99% of Richard Pryor's movies are. But this deals a lot with racism and he's a criminal that's, to get out of trouble, he's helping take a broken down bus and a busload of kids with their, I want to say guardian, I guess. And yeah, it's just it's just a really good comedy. He deals with racism, he deals with having the kids hate him and stuff, and everything, but it's just an overall good comedy. I saw it for the first time actually from this Blu-ray, but I've always been a big Richard Pryor fan, and this is just what I never hear anybody talk about anymore. Number 14 is 2013's Horns. This is Daniel Radcliffe and Juno Temple. This is I would consider this kind of a horror slash murder mystery slash sci-fi slash dark comedy, I guess. Essentially, it's Daniel Radcliffe is falsely accused of murdering Juno Temple, and through the processes of being blamed for her murder, he kind of denounces God and, kind of curses God and everything. And through that, he ends up starting to grow horns. And the horns is basically anybody that's around him that sees him kind of shares their darkest, deepest desires, right? Or they can't control their thoughts and stuff. It's a really good movie. It's good visual effects, great acting. And it's just a movie that the only other person I really have heard somebody talk about that I can remember was Chase at AVA Pop Culture. But I'll talk more about Chase here in a little bit. But yeah, that's a good movie. Another movie that I feel that a lot of people hate on, and I think unjustly, is 2011. This is number 13. 2011's The Green Lantern. I personally like this movie. Is it the greatest superhero film in the world? Of course not. But I think it gets too much hate, and I think wrongfully so. Some of the CGI in this is questionable, but it's also dated. You're looking at 12 years, I don't know what, 14 years ago now. But even Ryan Reynolds hates on this movie. The only thing that I really didn't like about this movie, period, was I did not like how the suits looked. The suits really looked really fake, and it was almost like you could tell they weren't even on him. And I get why they went that way, why they did CGI suits, because of the Green Lanterns themselves. But that's the only thing that really bugged me about this movie. Other than that, I think it's a good comedy. I think it's a fun time. I think the story is decent enough, and I really wanted to see a sequel to this. I really wanted to see them tackle Sinestro. But unfortunately, we're never going to get that. But another movie that I just think gets a lot of hate, and I don't think it deserves that hate. Next on the list is number 12. It's 2023. This is the newest movie on this list. Only by a year, basically. But 2023's Paint. Now, if you like Bob Ross, then this is a movie for you. It's not a Bob Ross biopic, which is what I thought it was originally. It is a comedy, and it's very loosely... basically, Owen Wilson plays a Bob Ross type character. But I don't think it's the funniest movie in the world, but I do enjoy it. Every time I watch this movie, it does remind me of Bob Ross, and the way he would teach you how to paint, really, the joy of painting. Um, and it's kind of, I just think it's it's a good comedy, but I don't think it's not one of those comedies for me personally that makes me laugh out loud or bust a gut or anything like that. But I do see the comedic value in it. I just don't watch this as a comedy, if that makes any sense. But I do like this movie, and I never hear anybody talking about it. Next is another movie that gets a lot of hate from number 11 is 2006's Aragon. Now I know this has a Blu-ray release, but the problem is the Blu-ray release is just the theatrical cut, and I personally like the extended cut that's on the special edition here. Full disclosure, if you love the Aragon books, you're gonna hate this movie. It's plain and simple. I knew about the books after this movie. I discovered the movie. I watched the movie first, and then after I watched the movie, I was at Walmart working at the time, and we were on lunch break, and I went to the book section to try to find something to try to read during breaks and lunches and stuff. And I saw that they had a book that was released around the time of the movie, or a novelization of the version of the book, and it had the the poster cover artwork on the front and everything, and in the middle, like they used to do a lot. I don't know if they do it anymore, but they used to in the middle have like 6, 8 to 10 or 12 pages of color pictures and stuff and descriptions and stuff to help promote the movie. Well, that was in this book and everything, and I found out that the Arya is supposed to be an elven princess, and then there's dwarf kings in this movie. I'm like, what? Because I'm a huge fan of the sword and sandal type stuff, elves, dwarves, orcs, all that stuff. The Lord of the Rings, even Game of Thrones, but Conan, Hercules, D&D basically. So that after I found out those are supposed to be elves and dwarves, I was pissed. But then I read the book, and I'm a huge fan of the Aragon book series. And that's all due to this movie. If I didn't see this movie, I would have never even known about the book. So it's always going to hold a special place in my heart. I still like this movie, even though I will admit that if you like the books, don't watch this movie. Number 10 is 2002. It is The New Guy. The New Guy is just a good comedy. It's a straight up early 2000s comedy. Basically, DJ Quells, I think it's his name. Yeah, DJ Quells plays a geek kid that gets picked on and everything, and he decides he's going to toughen up through some prisoners in jail. Basically, Eddie Griffin, and Eddie Griffin's going to teach him how to be cool, how to be mean, cruel, respected, and all that. So he goes to a new school and he uses all the stuff that Eddie Griffin teaches him, and it's just a good comedy. It's a fun time. I do like this movie. The cast is pretty good, but I never hear anybody talk about this. It's one of the many comedies like in the early 2000s that I think gets overlooked, and I think it's just not right because this is a good time. Next is actually two movies into one set, but I decided to keep them both in here. At number 9, so this is basically 9A and 9B. It's Hercules and the Adventures of Hercules from 1983 and 1985. Lou Ferrigno, most famous for like the Incredible Hulk, from the 70s, 70s into the 80s, the TV series with Mel Bixby. This is just a good Hercules double pack. The first movie is obviously the better of the two. The second movie, they go a little bit more off into a weird way where now he's facing robots and stuff like that, robotic monsters and stuff. I think that's the second one, which, yeah. But I really like the first one in particular. It does cover some of the the 12 labors of Hercules, and like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology, and Hercules is my favorite Greek character, a Greek story. I love like Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, the Dwayne Johnson Hercules movies. There's an Elon Lutz Hercules movies. There's a Hercules miniseries movie starring, I think his name is Paul Tiefler, if I remember correctly. And of course, I love the Lou Ferrigno, and I love the old French type Sword and Sandal Hercules movies of Hercules Unchained, all that stuff. So yeah, I had to include this movie. These are two really good, decent movies. I know they both have Blu-ray releases from Shout Factory, and I do plan on buying those eventually. But there are a lot of places are wanting like $50 a piece for them, and I don't have that kind of spare cash. So the DVD is good enough for me for now. But yeah, Hercules and The Adventures of Hercules. I highly recommend those movies. Next is number 8 is 2022's The Mean One. Now this is a movie that I had heard about before even watching it, and it wasn't until Chase from AVA Pop Culture put it on a few of his lists around Christmas time and Halloween time, where he really talks about how much him and his son love this movie and everything, and it's started getting me to want to actually see this movie, because I actually like the Jim Carrey Grinch movie and the original animated movie from with Boris Karloff. I think it was made in the 60s maybe. But yeah, this one I was really shocked with it. The only thing I would say is I wish the Grinch himself would actually have a speaking role. I did not like the fact that we're watching the Grinch, but he's almost like a mindless killing animal, almost like a Bigfoot type creature. And I get why some people would like that, but I personally would have liked to have him talking and stuff. But this is still a good movie. It's a fun time. The only way to get this movie, as far as I know, on physical media is this steelbook. I'm not the biggest fan of steelbooks. I think they break too easily. They get damaged too easily. But when this is the only way you can get a movie, you have to grit and bear it, right? But this is a good overall movie. It's a horror / Christmas movie / monster creature feature. I would consider one of those. And it's just a fun time. All right, next is number 7. It's from 2006, and it's the movie Hollywoodland. Me being a huge Superman fan, this is it's loosely based off of the life of George Reeves. And if you don't know who George Reeves is, he was in the 1950s. He played Superman in the TV series The Adventures of Superman. And that's what he basically was known for the rest of his life and even in his death. And this movie, kind of shows Ben Affleck as George Reeves. So he's actually playing Superman, technically. But it's about George Reeves' life, but it's more about the mysterious causes surrounding his death. Adrian Brody plays a cop that's trying to get answers and find out exactly what happened to George Reeves. Was he murdered? Did he commit suicide? If he was murdered, who killed him? Stuff like that. And it's just like in the real world, we still don't know what happened to George Reeves, even so many years later. Nothing's been proven. This movie doesn't tell you anything either. I mean, it tells you the different options and how that would happen, each way, but it doesn't tell you which way it actually went down. Which I respect that, because it's not forcing you to believe one way over the other. They're all very plausible. They're all very believable, and it's just, who could tell, right? Who knows? But this is a great movie. Great acting. It's a stacked cast. Bob Hoskins, Diane Lane, Ben Affleck, Adrian Brody. I know there's others in there, but those are the 4 that I can think of right offhand. But yeah, this is it's a fun time, and it kind of takes you back into the old 50s Hollywood. And yeah, it's just, if you like it, if you're interested in that, and if you're interested in like movie creating and stuff, it also delves into the creation of the Superman TV series and stuff. And there's a lot of nods and hits to a lot of that stuff. I do recommend this movie. If you're a Superman fan, of course, this is. I think this is a must-watch movie. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys think. The next up is number 6 as 1994's Stargate. Now, this is a movie that when I first saw this movie, I didn't care for it. I just didn't get it. It didn't resonate with me at all. But again, working at Walmart, there was my friend Brandon, who worked at the bakery, the deli / bakery area. He was basically came in early mornings to make all the donuts, right, for Walmart. And he would come in. We would sit down during our the last break of the night, and he would talk about Stargate, SG-1, all this stuff. And I didn't really remember the movie too much. I know I had seen it, but I didn't remember it at the time. But he convinced me to actually try SG-1. He let me borrow the first season, and ever since then, I've been hooked on Stargate. I love Stargate. So I went back and I rewatched the Stargate movie. And ever since then, I've loved this movie. Is it the greatest thing in the world? Is it the greatest sci-fi movie in the world? No, it's not. You want really great sci-fi? There's a lot of great sci-fi franchises out there, but this is also one of them. Stargate, SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, I think is the other one. They're all good shows in their right minds. And it all started with this. Essentially what Stargate is, you have a military force and a scientist that they uncover a gateway. And once you find out the right 7 symbols, and the order of the symbols to put into it, you travel between here and another world. And that's what this movie is. And it's a good movie. It takes them basically to a world that's like ancient Egypt. And you find out that there's aliens involved and everything. It's a good movie. Alright, next is number 5. It's 1996. Beavis and Butthead Do America. Now, I grew up in I was born in 1980, so 93 to 95-ish, when Beavis and Butthead were really big. Of course, I was a big Beavis and Butthead guy, right? And this movie came out at the height of their popularity. And I've always loved this movie. It's a good comedy. And it's just, if you love Beavis and Butthead, if you love that kind of humor, you can't go wrong with this movie. The voice casting is amazing in this. Of course, you have Mike Judge doing Beavis and Butthead. But, Bruce Willis is in this, and so many other great. I don't remember all the. Let me see if I can see some of them real quick. It's not saying a lot of the. I'm trying to see if it has any of the other voice cast in there. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't say, but yeah. Anyways, it's a stacked voice cast. If you didn't even know they were doing the voice, you probably wouldn't even know it. But yeah, it's a good fun time, and the soundtrack is really really great in this, and yeah, I love this movie. But I never hear anybody talk about it. I don't hear very many people talk about Beavis and Butthead at all, anymore. But as you can see, I do like Beavis and Butthead. I like them quite a bit. All right, next is number 4. It's 2022's Violent Night. Now, this is another good movie. It's obviously a Christmas movie, but it's also an action flick. I thought when I first heard about this movie getting made that it was going to be like a horror movie. And I thought it was going to be something like another movie that I absolutely love. I love more than this. It's called Santa's Sleigh, which I think I had in my first video. And that stars Bill Goldberg as Santa. But this is David Harbour from Stranger Things. He also played Hellboy in a movie. And he's in the Marvel Universe as the... Oh, I can't think of the name of his character. But he's in like the Black Widow movie, and he's in the new... Thunderbolts ! Or whatever it is called. But yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, he plays Santa, and he's another Santa. Once again, like a lot of Christmas movies, he's losing faith in people and the Christmas spirit, and he ends up, while he's out delivering his gifts, ends up having to take on a lot of just bad men and killing a lot of bad men. and through that and through the help with it with a girl, maybe he finds his Christmas spirit again. Who knows? I mean, I know I've seen it. Chase from AVA Pop Culture, I know he's seen it. He loves this movie too. And I know a lot of people, I know a few other people do, but I just don't hear enough people talk about this. And I do know it's getting a sequel, so I know people loved it. It's just, I feel that it doesn't get as much love as it should. Alright, next is from 1984. It's number 3 is 1984's Supergirl. Again, I'm a huge Superman guy, but this is actually a movie that it gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand why. Granted, it's not Superman. Granted, the villain in this is kind of but I mean, it's a continuation of that Superman universe that Richard Donner made, that the Salkinds made, and I think it's a really good installment, right? Helen Slater is amazing in this role. Everybody, when you talk about Supergirl, everybody's going to say about Melissa Benoist, I think is how you pronounce her name for the TV series. I think I like Helen Slater better. I think my favorite Supergirl was actually Laura Vandervoot from Smallville, but that's a whole different story. But I really like this movie. This is a Warner Archive collection. This has 2 different cuts of the movie. It has the international cut and the I don't remember what they're calling the other one. The director's cut. Yeah, this is but granted, the international cut's the only one on Blu-ray. The other one's just on DVD. Full disclosure. But this is a good movie. I don't understand all the hate it gets, but it is what it is. And we have only 2 movies left. Number 2 is 2005's Just Friends. This is a tremendous Christmas movie again, but it's a great comedy. And since you have Ryan Reynolds was an overweight kid in high school, and he was in love with Amy Smart's character, and he goes off after trying to tell her how much he loves her, and they were best friends and stuff, but how much he loves her and wants to be more than friends. And in the process, he gets laughed at and such from everybody else aside from her. So he decides to move off to Hollywood and stuff, and he, cuts all the weight, obviously, and he becomes essentially really a real dick, right? He's a player. He's just not a nice guy anymore, where he used to be a nice, sensitive guy, and he goes back home for the holidays, and finds out that Amy Smart's character is still there, and he tries to hook up with her, and through that, they decide whether or not they really should be more than just friends. But it's a great comedy. It's a good cast. Anna Faris, Chris Klein. I know Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart have said a lot of interest. Has a lot of interest in a sequel to this, and I'd be all for it. I don't know if they would need to have Chris Klein or Anna Faris, but if they do, that's fine with me. But I really would like to see a sequel to this. I think it's grown in popularity, and maybe it'll continue to grow. But for right now, it's on my list. And that leaves me with number 1. This is 2018's Ready Player One. This is a great nostalgic movie, and it's actually really, I think it's more relevant today than it would have been, 20 years ago. Because nowadays, the world, the kids nowadays, they're very, video game focused. They're very focused on the internet, online stuff. And this is basically showing what could happen to you or to the world if you let the video games really consume your all being, where you just want to live in a virtual world, in a fake world. It's almost, it reminds me of Free Guy a little bit, but I think this movie does it even better. Plus, there's so much nostalgia in this, and there's so much callbacks to the, especially the 80s. There's DeLoreans in this. You have Chucky's in this. The Iron Giant's in this. There's so many different callbacks and Easter eggs and stuff. and it's just a fun time. It's Steven Spielberg, and I hope they make a sequel. I know there's a second book out there for the series. I don't know if we ever will get a sequel to this, but I'd be all for it. But I don't really know with the sequel where the characters would go, where the story would go. I would be really interested to see where they would go with this. But I do love this movie, and I really don't think it gets any love at all. I never hear anyone talking about this. At least with some of these other movies, I do hear some of these other movies, I do hear people talk about some. But some of these movies, I never, ever hear anybody talk about them. And if I do hear talk about them, it's always putting them down and tell me how much the movies are crap. But anyways, guys, that's my list today. That's 15 more movies that I think are underappreciated or hated. And I don't agree with that. But just 15 movies that I love. And I want to get the word out for everybody. And anyways, in the comments down below, let me know. What are some movies that you love that everybody seems to hate or you don't ever hear anybody talk about? Or what do you think about my list? And if you like this video, please hit that like button, share, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you know when I have my next video out. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I'll catch you guys later.